Welcome to Recruitment Rehab, the podcast for your recruitment confessions. Yes, we'll talk about what makes a great recruiter, a great recruitment business, and the secrets behind the success of our various guests. But we're also here to unpack why the industry has such a stellar reputation. You know, like being ranked just above traffic wardens and just below estate agents in the public's hearts. Each episode, we're going to be joined by guests from across the recruitment spectrum to share war stories, confess their past sins, and even maybe admit to being the reason that someone was sworn off recruiters forever. It's part therapy, part revelation, and entirely more honest than your average job spec. This is Recruitment Rehab. Let's get stuck in. Before we get into the episode, as many of you probably already know, as well as running the Recruitment Rehab podcast, I'm also the founder of a rec-to-rec agency called AT Talent. We operate across Manchester, London and New York, and we focus on placing candidates from entry level up to divisional lead. So if you're a recruitment agency looking to add talent to your team, or you're a recruiter that's considering your options, or just interested in seeing what's out there, please drop us a message as we'd love to hear from you. Let's get stuck into the episode. Today's guest has experienced almost every stage of the recruitment journey, from trainee consultant to record-breaking biller, recruitment leader, and now business owner. He originally planned to become a PE teacher and then, as most do, ended up in recruitment almost by accident. After beginning his career at Hayes in Leicester, he then moved to New York with Oliver James, where he became the company's top performing contract recruiter globally and generated more than 8.6 million in GP. Having led a 12-person team and broken the firm's all-time billing record, he left in 2025 to launch Falcon Group alongside his former colleague and now co-founder Jake. He's now just over a year into that journey and he's here to tell us all about it. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Cheers, mate. Good to be here.
So let's start at the beginning then. Same place we always start. Just tell us about how you got into recruitment.
It's non-traditional. Everyone says they fall into recruitment and never wants to be there. To be honest, I didn't know about recruitment before I got into it. I actually set out to be a teacher, first of all, which was... my mum was a teacher. She just said, "Oh yeah, why don't you do teaching?" I'm like, "All right, sweet." I was always good at sport, at least I think I was. And I went to Loughborough Uni, did my sports science degree, and then I went to Derby, did my PGCE from there. And I thought, "Oh right, wicked, going to be a teacher." Was applying at jobs throughout my PGCE year. I got a job offer in Kenya in an international school, which was really weird, and it looked a bit dodgy. Thinking back at it now with the recruitment mindset, it was very dodgy. So I didn't take that, obviously. But and then halfway through my PGCE year, I was like, this is crap. I don't really want to be a teacher anymore. And look, they're fantastic people. They obviously do a very big service to to everyone. No one will have an education without teachers, but it just wasn't for me. It wasn't fulfilling enough. So I think, what shall I do? And my granddad actually had his own recruitment company, right? He ran an exec search firm. Was solo for 20, 30 years doing it, before kind of joining up with an American firm and doing a dual. Just joined up really. So it was they're called Devon Anderson. Their firm was, and he just said to me one day, he was like, "Why don't you try recruitment?" I went, "What is it?" And he's obviously told me all these stories before about him going to, Dubai and Egypt and Saudi Arabia. He did manufacturing executives basically. So I thought, all right, I'll give it a shot. And so I started then applying to all these recruitment firms. I applied to a supply teacher one because I was doing supply teaching at the time just to get some cash in. Back in Leicester. Applied to Hayes, Page, Reed. There's obviously a few more that are out there. Manpower, all Leicester high street firms around the city centre. And I remember vividly having an interview with Page, and obviously not slating them. They're a brilliant company, but they asked me, "Do you know anything about 360 recruitment?" And I had no idea what it was. I just said, "Sorry, don't know." And I got obviously rejected for that because I didn't know what recruitment was. But anyway, Hayes gave me a shot. Went in as a grad, and that's kind of how I landed in recruitment. Worked at Hayes Leicester on Colton Street for about 3.5 years.
Do you remember what your starting salary was back in the day at Hayes?
It was actually quite decent, to be fair, versus other high street ones. I think it was like 22. I think I started on.
That's good. What year was that?
So it was. Geez, you have to look at my LinkedIn. I can't really remember now, but it was like 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah,
it is like. Is it 2016? I think. Yeah, maybe 2016. But yeah, it was. That was a great salary. 22 grand. No recruitment experience. No sales experience. Well, I did a month at a stockbroker in London just to see if I liked that, and it was crap, so I quit after a month. But that was like $300 a day, and just dial the phone and pull leads. But that was my only sales experience. So I don't think I was, 22 grand wasn't justifiable for my background. But yeah, they took a punt, and I honestly thought I was going to fail at it. Personally, after the first 6 months, that was tough.
Yeah, I was going to suggest, so that kind of leads me on to my next question, really. Like, about 40% of people do leave the industry in the first 12 months. Like, how did you manage to kind of get through that self-doubt and go on to have success?
So, and I've got to thank Hayes for this, because I got put on a geotechnical engineering desk. It's pretty interesting, but it's very, very niche. But where I got sat was I had my direct manager next to me. I had the senior director of the East Midlands to my left. Behind me, I had the regional director of the Midlands, the whole Midlands. And every time I put the phone down, they'd constantly ask me, "What was that call? What did you get out of that?" And just grilled me for about 5 minutes. And if I didn't get anything, they'd go, "Right, pick the phone back up and dial it again." So it was quite fortunate I was sitting. I didn't like it at the time, obviously, but it was. I was able then just to kind of get coached constantly throughout the day on what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong. 5 days a week, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And obviously, I didn't want to leave until they left, which was usually at 7 o'clock. So I was probably staying I was doing 8 to 7 every single day. And granted, in that on that first desk, that was perm geotechnical engineering. There's like ecology in there as well, which is really weird. But yeah, I only made one deal. Everyone remembers their first deal, so did that, which is great. I was like a 7.5K fee, which doesn't sound masses now. I'm in the US, but back then it was obviously huge. And then I just thought this desk isn't really going anywhere, and they said it as well. So they moved me on to health and safety across the East and West Midlands, because someone had left and that desk was open. They said, "Oh, this is a very hot desk. There's loads of warm clients. Here's your desk." And I was like, "So who are my clients?" And they went, "The whole of the East and West Midlands." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I was a bit, going in blind and just attack that market. I didn't do very well in it, but I think what kept me around was just that constant, picking up the phone, just dialing, just doing the work. And that's kind of what kept me around. And obviously I'm a bit of a, how would I put it, but not naive, but persistence. I'm a bit of a hard character. That I don't want to fail this job, because you don't really want to fail in anything. I mean, I don't want to fail in anything. So I just went knee deep in it and just tried it.
Yeah. And
really,
obviously I'm sure it was a variety of things, right? But like, what sort of things were they pulling you up on after a call that perhaps you wouldn't necessarily get if you weren't sat around such senior people? Or you might see in your time working at other businesses where more junior people haven't been pulled up on those things, and therefore they've not gone on to have the success that you eventually went to have.
Layers of questions. That was the key thing that I remember them being just drilled into me. It's like, for example, why does someone want to leave leave their job? Oh, money. Okay, why money? Right, what does that mean to them? So that was just drilled into me from like an early years in my career. So that's always resonated with me, right? So that was one layers of questioning. And then I don't know, just them just going, "Who's your next call?" Right?
Yeah.
Where's your plan? Right? Every morning we had to have a plan. like laid out, what you're doing at 9 o'clock, what you're doing at 6 o'clock, to the hour. So it was very rigid, which is great for me. I love structure, so that was fine. Obviously, being having trained to be a teacher, I was always planning, right? So that was fine. But yeah, they just draw that into me. So I'd say two things: layers of questioning and day plans. They were the two biggest things.
Loads of people talk about day plans on this podcast. It's mad.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's so simple, but obviously so effective and so important to so many successful people. What I was going to ask is, like, you mentioned you didn't want to quit, right? And resilience is massive in recruitment, but like, where do you think your resilience comes from?
Probably just playing basketball, really, or sport in general. I wasn't, the most athletic back in the day, or I don't know. I think it's just personality, really. I mean, my mum grew up, raised us with like single parent. So she worked 2-3 jobs at any one time when I was growing up. She had like child minding in the morning, day job, and then she did like laundry and also child minding in the evening. So for like different services for local people, undercut the local laundry services so she can get the business. But so yeah, that was really probably what it stemmed down to, just being around that environment and just seeing her hustle, and then that's what kind of stemmed to me. Really.
Yeah, can you imagine like seeing your mum graft away doing 3 jobs, and you've got yourself this job at Hayes, and I can't imagine you going home saying this is too tough, mum. Would have gone down very well. So that makes complete sense.
Well, at that point she was in like a quite a senior role in a teaching career at that point, so she wasn't doing the 3 jobs then, but back in the day, growing up through school, like primary school, it was definitely something with that. But that was that.
So aside from day plans, which I'm assuming you still do, like what's one thing that you do every day now as a biller that's a non-negotiable that your desk couldn't live without?
So it's a really good question. Everyone has loads of different reasons for this, and I'm going to take something completely out of the way. I plan, right? I'll go back to planning. I go to the gym every lunch. I just need to. If I don't have that lunch gym session, then my days I burn out by 3 or 4 o'clock, right? So I know it's not, there are answers like, oh yeah, I do try and book 20 meetings a day and do 100 dials in 2 hours on the phone. That's not me as a recruiter. I've never done that, to be honest with you. I need to have that mental break in the day. So doesn't matter what it is. If it's if I've got meetings that overlap with it and I could only got half an hour, I will go outside and do half an hour, right? Because it's really key. Because otherwise, recruitment, you do burn out, and you do burn out very quickly, especially if you're back to back in calls. So a non-negotiable for me is getting outside, right?
Yeah.
And having that mental break away from the desk. I leave my phone at home, and just that's it.
Yeah, that's quite refreshing to hear. It's interesting that you leave your phone at home as well, because I've gone through phases of going to the gym at different times in the day, but if I'm on my lunch, I'm on my phone constantly, like checking my emails and stuff, and you're not really mentally switching off, are you?
Yeah, I put it on if I've got my phone with me, because I've got a program, a Whoop on my phone as well. It's do not disturb. That's the only thing I'm doing, is just doing that. It's just everything's switched off, because I just don't want to. I put it on airplane mode, because I just don't want to be distracted. I just want to be in that little mental free zone, basically.
And if you could give any advice to a younger Alex first getting into recruitment, what would it be?
I just keep going. It always gets better, or should get better. But I think it's also sit around the billers, probably. If you're sitting with your mates who come in on the grad scheme, right? Obviously you're in a similar place. Yeah, they're there. They might not survive, right? I'd definitely just not sit with them. I'd ask who's the biggest biller in the office, or who's the most consistent biller, right? They're not down to be biggest, but as they're doing 1 deal a month consistently for their career, that they're good, they've got good processes, I'd sit near them, That's the one thing I'd tell junior people.
Yeah, I think that's outstanding advice. I'm really passionate about that as well. Just like, you are a product of your environment, aren't you? So yeah, I think that's brilliant. And you know, you touched on it yourself. It's that learning through osmosis. Bit of a cliche, but it's so true. Like, and that's what you can't get as much of when you're working from home and you're not in the office. So yeah, no, I really agree with that. So what do you do differently now, though, compared to when you started from a recruitment perspective?
Oh, what do I do differently? I'm just better on the phones, I suppose, asking better questions, able to dive into the nuts and bolts, find the pressure points of clients, and then find the bruise and push the bruise. I always say, or find the wound, spread some salt in it, and and just that's how you get the wins, and then you're able to sell because it's needs-based selling. I don't think I was good at that when I was younger, right? Or when I just started. I was getting into it, right? When I was on my my third desk at Hayes doing civil structural engineering, right, across the East Midlands, I kind of got into the fact of, all right, there's projects here. How do you sell into the projects? I kind of learned that myself because my counterpart was doing the perm stuff and he wasn't asking about project work, right? It's like, what perm job do you need? All right, cool, I'll go fill it. But yeah, I think now it's definitely pushing into the, what CapEx projects are going on, what OpEx projects are going on, because that's where companies are pulling budgets from, and then you can really hone in on, all right, where you're spending money. Because it's like, when I was at OJ as a contract recruiter, that's what I'd really push at. But as a perm biller, it's still finding out where are your gaps and where are your challenges. You can create jobs out of nowhere.
Yeah. So for like a junior recruiter listening to this, it's not rushing your discovery and starting to sell and pitch too quickly. It's really going deep on what the challenges are that they're having, so you know exactly how to sell instead of just rushing it.
Yeah, you don't need to be pitching in the first 10 seconds. But personally, I don't like pitching at all, really, until you find the need, and you've got some element of a relationship. I think that's what a lot of recruiters probably do, is just go straight into a sell. They don't know the individual, from the mate, and they don't know how to sell, because people buy from people at the end of the day.
I just want to pause the episode for a moment to talk about one of our sponsors, Isotope Capital. If you have over 4 years recruitment experience and are passionate about running a recruitment agency and not just another desk for another employer, then Isotope is for you. They exist to help experienced recruiters build strong, sustainable recruitment agencies without having to figure out everything the hard way. Their focus is around successfully launching your recruitment agency and then helping you become a better recruitment agency business owner in the years to come. They provide the infrastructure that most founders simply don't have on day one. Accounting, legal, compliance, HR, marketing, procurement access, website support, ongoing business advisory, all wrapped around real-world experience from people who've built and scaled recruitment businesses before. Isotope have supported agencies across all markets, both focused on the UK recruitment market and further afield. They're all about helping you make better decisions, avoid costly mistakes, and helping you build a successful recruitment business, whatever that looks like to you. You keep ownership, you build the brand, they provide the foundations, guidance, and support to help you scale the business properly. Check out the link in the description for more information. Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. So obviously a few years pass at Hayes, and then you decide to relocate to the US with OJ. Clearly, a massive move. Like, what brought that about?
There's a bit of a story behind that. I tried to move with Hayes first of all. So I was 3 years into this contract civil structural engineering desk. I'd done, my biggest year was 190k, and I was I was the UK and Ireland top biller for that discipline that year, which 190k seems absolutely pennies now in comparison to what people are doing. But at the time, it was good. I didn't know any better. And And I tried to move over to the States with Hayes. They have a global movement program. One of my friends moved to Canada with them. A couple of others have moved to like Dubai with them. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll give that a go. And I got to like the final stage interview. Thought it was all going well. And I said, all right, I'll go out to Tampa and meet the team. Right. I thought, because I just wanted to go on a holiday as well. So I went out there, met the director, met the team, all fine. A few drinks, and my mum still tells me this today. It's probably why I didn't get accepted. I probably drank too much in front of them and got a bit leery, which I kind of scuppered it for myself, because then 2, 3, 4 weeks later, I basically got rejected, saying I've not got enough experience, after them telling me, oh yeah, you're great, you'll fit in, you'll build out contracts out here. And I think I just messed it up for myself personally, which I was really gutted about. Obviously, I still deny that to this day, but let's just be honest. Here. So, I spoke to the MD of Hayes, and he went, "What are you going to do? Are you going to stay?" And I went, "No, I'm going to try and look for something else." And I had my mind set on Florida. Like I said, I was like, just wants to be in Florida because it's warm, right? So, looked around, spoke to a couple of rec to recs. Linked me up with a few companies, and I got offers from NES Global out in Orlando, Spencer Ogden in Orlando, and then this one rec to rec said, "Why don't you have a chat with this company in New York?" And I said, flat out, I don't want to go to New York. Don't want to go to New York at all. It's cold. Don't fancy it. And to be fair, she pushed me on it, right? And I was like, fine, I'll have a chat. Anyway, that one chat then led to 3-4 more conversations, going down to Spinning Fields and having a in-person meeting with Jimmy, CEO, who all the time in the world for. And it's like, next thing I know, I was at Nine Elms getting a visa. I thought.
So what changed? Like what made you fancy the cold winters of New York?
I'll put it down. I'll put it down to probably it was a good sell, right? But I don't know, it just felt right. I got an intrinsic feeling from the interviews, from the company, from like the culture, like this is a good place to be and take that next step. Obviously, the offers, I was comparing offers. We didn't have ChatGPT then to do comparisons, so it was like literally a piece of paper, three grids. What does each offer? And even looking back at it, the OJ offers was the better one. The commission structure was better than the others at the time. Sorry guys, but that's just what it was. And I just thought, I'll take that and just make the plunge. Never been to New York before, never in my life. So first time going there was with 2 suitcases and a backpack.
On your own?
But yeah, on my own. Just I accepted the offer. Started in February 2019. I remember it was going to the taxi driver. A yellow cab. He's like, "Where do you want to go?" And I just gave him a slip of paper saying this address. He's like, "Where's that?" I was like, "I have no idea, mate. Just take me there. Just try and get me there." And here's $100 basically. Hopefully that gets it to the hotel.
And had you always wanted to move to the US?
Yeah, that was one thing that was always on my mind when I was at Hayes. Me and the lad who I sat next to, we always looked at like the global billings, because that was always visible, and seeing what numbers they were doing at Hayes across the globe. And US was just like, they were doing 100k months. Well, this is ridiculous. The biggest month I ever did at Hayes was like 24 grand, right? Which was like a perm on top of my runner book at the time. So I was like, oh, this is great. But yeah, seeing someone do 100k months, it was just you want to go where the money is, really.
Yeah. And like, since moving over there, like, how's that been? Were there any initial challenges? Has there been since? Before we get back to the episode, let's talk about one of the most boring aspects of recruitment: formatting CVs. You get a great candidate, the CV lands in your inbox, it's a PDF, 2 columns, text boxes everywhere, headshots that won't move. And then when you try and change one line, suddenly nothing lines up anymore. So you spend another 15-20 minutes fighting a Word document just to try and make it look presentable. Time that would be far better spent speaking to candidates and clients. That's why we like Odro. Assist CV automates your CV formatting process in one click. You may already know Odro for their video products, Capture, that allows you to get more responses in less time, or Vision, their video interviewing suite designed to streamline the hiring process. The reason Odro works so well is because it integrates with multiple CRMs and you only actually pay for the products that you need, meaning you can choose the products that you actually want and plug them straight into the way that you already work. Simple. So, if you're looking to save time, automate admin tasks, and just focus on what really matters, which is placing candidates, then I'd recommend having a look into what Odro is up to. I actually used to work at Odro myself as well, for anyone who doesn't know that, so I can't speak highly enough about the guys there and the way that they operate. You can find out more about them on the link in the description, and if you mention the Recruitment Rehab podcast, they'll be sure to look after you. Let's get back to the episode.
Well, I'm still here, so that's probably probably the good thing, and it's working out. I'd say the first 9 months was the hardest for me. I missed home, obviously. That was a big thing. I was close to my mum, so we talk all the time. I was just trying to figure it out as I go along. I was in a hotel. I was thinking my first 2 weeks, what the hell am I doing here? What have I done? So I've gone from Leicester being, I've had a house, a car. I was pretty comfortable. I was living on my own. Good job. Well, I mean, that's what I thought. It's better now, but it was a lot of change all at once, and in the dead of winter where it's horrible, and trying to find a new social group, and trying to not, see, New York's it's a big drinking culture. It really is. Every single bar every night has people in it. So trying to not just drink while I was out here as well, and figure it out on a small salary and what I, in comparative terms to what I think now grads are getting.
And as you've probably seen, right, so many businesses now, recruitment businesses, are setting up in the US, and lots of people like yourself back then are probably considering moving. What advice would you give to somebody that's considering moving out to the US with their recruitment business?
I'd say just do it, first of all. Absolutely do it. There is more money to be made out here. It can accelerate your career and your earnings. It's a no-brainer. But you got to apply yourself when you get here. You can't just think you're going to do it. Once you're here, it's going to be easy. People will, take job orders from me because I've got an English accent. Absolutely not. There are so many more recruitment companies out here than there once were, 10 years ago. So there is still, competition in every single job. So I think people get bogged down in, like I said, the drinking culture in the week. That's probably going back to non-negotiables. That's one of my non-negotiables. I don't drink in the week at all. Sundays, Monday through Thursdays and Sundays. So I don't do it because you're just fuzzy-headed in the next day. I just can't recruit. But so I think if people are wanting to come over, absolutely try it. You just do it for 2 years and see where you are. You can always go back.
Yeah, no, I struggle with that. I'm not much of a school night drinker these days. I don't know how I did it back in the day, to be honest. I just can't concentrate. But yeah, I can imagine a lot of people treat it like a holiday, and ultimately you are still going there to work, and you need work to be successful if you're going to make a successful life out there for yourself, right? So it's just kind of, I suppose, switching your mindset on, isn't it? That it's a great experience, but you've got to work hard still.
This is the thing. New York is extremely expensive, right? A cocktail will run you $25 sometimes, right? A beer will run you $12, right? Unless you get bottles, it's still $9-10. No one's having one or two drinks, right? Everyone has 5 or 6. Doesn't matter who says I'm going out for one, right? You always have 3 or 4. It will just run you up the costs, and coupled with rent, right? Because rent is stupid out here. It's ridiculous. You're going to have to pay for your lifestyle, right? So when I got here, I went out. Luckily, the WeWork we had 2 beer kegs in the on the 14th floor or whatever it was. So that was free beer for me. That was great on a Thursday, Friday night. But yeah, if you're going to go out on the weekends and drink, you need to pay for the lifestyle. and you need to work hard. So so that those first 9 months were the hardest for me because I wasn't billing at all. I thought I was crap. I worked out how much money I should pay back to my company to go home because we had a visa repayment schedule in the contract. So I actually worked it out on a spreadsheet, how much I'd owe and which month I should go back would mean how much I'd pay back. So yeah, my first 9 months in the States, I did 45 grand in billings, which from an English recruiter going over, everyone will probably admit, even listen to the podcast, will probably that's crap. How the hell did you not get sacked?
As a contracts recruiter, though, I'll sympathise. You're building your book up a bit, aren't you? But
mate, still, I moved desks. I moved desks in October, end of October. I did like one IT contract deal. I started on IT. I'm not an IT recruiter by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I moved desks in that October, and then that's when it started doing a bit better. To be fair.
What changed? Do you think?
I was on a market that was more relatable to what I'd done before in civil structural engineering. I took on the actuarial desk on doing contracts. I was working with the person I reported into, Jake, who's now a business partner. He was $1 million biller at OJ. He was already doing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year. Had been for a couple of years. So he was I basically went back to kind of ground zero, being around those Hayes people. Every time I came off the floor, he'd grill me about it, and I'm like, okay, right, we're doing this again. And I'd get really frustrated with it, but it did help me.
Yeah. And do you think, like, sometimes a recruiter will be bang average in one market and then they just go into another market and it can just click?
I think so. Well, I mean, it happened to me, but I think certain people are good for certain markets, right? There are certain, when we interview people, you're like, all right, you're a perm recruiter or you're a contract recruiter because of your traits. Right. Yeah. I do think people land in either of those two buckets. It's hard for one person to be, go into the other, though it's possible. I mean, there are some extremely talented recruiters out there who do perm and contract, and yeah, I can do perm, but I'm not as good, I would say, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I've been doing perm now in rec to rec for about 4 years, but I'm still a contracts recruiter at heart. I did like 3.5 years of contracts. I'm just too impatient. I was going to ask you, what do you think those traits are for perm and contracts that make successful billers?
Impatient, 100%. Now that's not impatient in going into a client meeting and saying, "Where's your jobs?" Right? That's impatient of, I don't want to be doing a 5, 6, 7 stage interview process, because sometimes they are for C-level hires. And have a deal that's now on it's a 2-week notice period, but the deal landing like a month or two after you start the process. Because if it falls, you've wasted 2 months. It's just so frustrating. Whereas a contract job, you can pull it on a Monday and fill it by Tuesday. It's just one stage interview. If you've got a contractor you're recycling, it's golden. You just say, I've used them before, just take them, don't need to interview them. Happened to me a few times. But it's like, it's few and far between. But yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, speed of impatience regarding speed of process, isn't it? Like you just get it covered, get it boxed off, hope that it gets filled. Whereas in perm, doesn't necessarily work like that. So I suppose it works well because you move quicker than maybe other perm recruiters, but your expectations maybe need managing if you're transitioning into perm.
Oh, massively. Yeah, I've got a few processes on now, like how many interviews are in this? I'm thinking surely it can't be more than 3. The hiring manager goes, we're going to do a 5-stage interview process and maybe then fly them out to bring them on site. I'm like, do we need to do that nowadays? And you're a remote business, like we don't need to do that. So yeah, it's definitely that side of it. Just want the commission now.
Yeah, no, agreed. So I want to move on to management because it's quite well known that good recruiters don't necessarily translate to being good managers, but you clearly had a lot of success at OJ. So what's your approach to management and more specifically getting the best out of people who are perhaps not where you'd like them to be?
Yeah, it's a very wide question and probably answer as well, because everyone's got their own management style on how to do things. Now, for me, what I've always preached is don't tell someone something that you're not going to do yourself. I would never tell someone to do 2 hours on the phone because I'm not doing 2 hours on the phone. They'll just look at my call stats and go, "Why are you not doing it?" Yeah, there's the argument I've been here, doing it for like 5-6 years longer than you, and I don't need to, but there's still that element. Now, you obviously want to push, grads coming in and say you need to be on the phone as much as possible, pulling information, but again, I'm doing that stuff as well, right? So I would always preach what I practice. That's probably my main thing. Second thing as well, I love meeting new clients, right? So whenever I had a new person join the team, or even with current people, I always wanted to be on meetings. So I'd take time out of my day, which was fine. I didn't, that's completely fine by me, and go on their meetings with them, whether that's in person, which is my favourite because I love seeing new sites, like new like office buildings, or going on just virtual calls with them and just listening, not taking over the call, just listening, because then I can give my coaching as well afterwards.
Yeah. So you're not like too far removed from the process. So even if you're managing, you've still got credibility because you're there. You're in the weeds day in, day out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's loads of people go off the phones, and we'll probably get onto that as well, like being off the phones versus on. But I think if you're going to manage a team of billers and telling them to bill, you kind of want to have your hand in the wheel as well yourself. And I always told myself that I never wanted to be outbilled by my team members, so that was always a driving force for me.
And obviously that must be tough, right? Because you're expected to bill and then manage, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 reports. How do you ensure that you don't get outbilled by your team, other than obviously just working really hard?
I don't know. You just do recruitment, I suppose.
Do you just have to work harder? The more reports you get, you just have to manage your time better and work harder. Because there's no doubt it gets harder.
I'd say work smarter. Smarter, not harder. So I always split my calendar up, right? So in the afternoons, that was client stuff. So every meeting I was booking in, I always tried to book it in between 2 and 6, or 2 and 6:30. It didn't really matter to me, but depending on time zones. But that was always client stuff, right? Mornings was for me to, either do candidate work or coach, right? The team, go on their meetings, go on, call listening and stuff like that. Ideally, if there was like management meetings, I'd do that. But yeah, I'd split that time. So I knew in the afternoons it was my desk. So yeah, I'm probably working 2.5 days, right? And if you think about it from a client perspective, but that allowed me then to like structure it. Because if remember what I said earlier, I'm a structured person. I need structure and able to like be efficient with my desk, keep that on, running over, as well as helping people grow and develop as well. So that's how I always did it.
And you touched on it there, right? Non-billing managers. What's your thoughts on people going off the tools, and do you think that's right, or when should somebody go off the tools, if ever?
So Jake and I have bounced this idea around. It's like, all right, as Falcon Group grows, do we ever want to go off the phones? I personally don't want to. He doesn't want to either. We don't want people being off the phones because we want people billing, right? That's the idea. Everyone has a cost associated with them, right? I feel that people should cover their cost. Now, if you're running an office circa 100 people, right, and you've got 6 or 7 direct reports reporting into you, and then you got it's layered from there, right? Yeah, you've got a reason to be off it. If you're an MD of an office, but if it's a small business like 20 people, I mean, my team at my height was 15 people. I was still on the phones, right? I don't know. I don't see why you shouldn't be. Personally.
Did they all report directly into you?
I had one manager who had 5. I probably had, I think, like 6 direct reports out of that 15 in total.
Yeah, because I'm seeing more and more of it these days. Like it used to be, but when I was first coming through, it was like you get your team to 6 or 7, then you're off the tools and you're just managing. Whereas now I'm seeing businesses where the founder of a 20-person business is still billing 1 million, and I think it seems to be just backing up what you see. You say you've got to lead by example. You still got to be in the weeds from a credibility perspective. Yeah. Also, you are the best performer, so why stop recruiting? It doesn't make sense. But you just got to layer it underneath you, I think, and make sure that you've not got all 20 people reporting straight into you, because obviously that would then become impossible, I think.
Oh, no, yeah, no, you need to layer the management structure. But then if you've got new people coming into the business, if you're a new company and they're like, oh, he's the founder. If I was there, I'd be like, well, what does he do as a job, right? Because when I was at Hayes, the senior director was a biller, my manager was a biller. Obviously, the regional MD wasn't a biller, but allegedly had billed in the past. But that's what I mean. It's like, what are they doing? I'd rather learn from someone who's actually on the tools, and you can hear them pitching, you can hear them, dealing with counter offers or dealing with all the crap that recruitment throws at you every day, because that's how you learn, through osmosis, like you said earlier.
Yeah, no, completely agree. So what about running a business then? Like, when did you know you wanted to run your own business?
I didn't really, to be honest with you. It just came around very randomly, over a beer, and just thought, why not? At the time, Jake was off the phones. I was still on the tools, and running the team, and I had a very healthy book at the time. Obviously, Jake didn't have a book, so it's probably easier for him to leave than me. He'd admit that, but yeah, I had like a 1.8 mil book at the time, and I thought it's like if not now, then when, right? There's no better time than the present, and we just thought, let's just take a punt at it. Right, we both knew we could recruit, so it kind of just came around very quickly.
From initial conversation in the pub over a beer to setting up or handing your notice in, like what sort of timescales are we talking?
A few months, really? To be honest with you. Yeah, probably a few months.
Did you start saving hard at that point?
Well, I had a bit of savings, obviously, over the time of like being OJ. I was billing a lot of money. There was a lot of commission coming in, which was great. Obviously, invested it, put some in property. But I also had my house in the UK that was still being rented out, so I sold that. I always wanted to sell it anyway. It wasn't just because of this. So I was already going through that process, because I didn't want to move back to the UK at the time. So I sold that, and then that kind of funded my salary for a year. After Uncle Sam came and took a large chunk of it. So money wise, I always knew I had, let's say 100 grand cash, able to just survive for a year, which was fine. Yeah, far less than what I was earning at OJ. That's a given, but at the same time, it's still a decent amount. So I cut back, you cut back your going out, you cut back your spending, etc., just to make sure that you're keeping to the budget. Yeah, it's a very stressful year.
Yeah, can imagine.
Because my wife likes to travel, so she's like, where can we travel? Instead of staying in a nice hotel, we're like, all right, let's find a little crappy Airbnb in Miami. It's horrible. That Airbnb was crap. But anyway.
It'll make for a good story, mate, when Falcon Group take off and you're living in luxury. But like, I suppose since thinking about setting up, was it always to do it with Jake? You never really considered setting up on your own?
No.
Yeah.
No, not really. I don't think I never did very well during COVID, right? Working at home and if I didn't have the team, I'd go stir crazy. I need someone to bounce ideas off. I need someone to, to moan and complain to, because I do complain a lot. That's fine. And not just about, this is crap. It's just like, this candidate wasn't giving me anything. and just complain about that for 5-10 minutes. It's fine. Jake just listens to me. But yeah, I don't think I'd do it with anyone else. It made sense. I reported into him at the time, and basically built the actuarial desk at OJ together. So it was natural. It was natural for me. Yeah.
What's been the biggest eye opener since running your own business?
Having to do all the operational stuff. That's probably the biggest eye opener, which is fine. Like it's just new things. It's like, how does QuickBooks work? I've never used it in my life. Or how doing the invoicing side of things. I've never done it. Now, I was exposed to quite a bit of things like the compliance side anyway, and we had to obviously get a few terms of business set up. So Claude has helped me with that, and I had to use an external party to help put it together. But yeah, just getting that sort of stuff ready. Recruitment, I knew recruitment, I could do that. It's just the operational side.
Yeah. What about when you work for OJ, you do the deal, person
You forget about
starts, commission lands. Like, what about late payment and stuff like that? Any issues with that?
We've thankfully we've not had any issues with that so far. I mean, like a few days, but it's not breaking the bank, right? And it's all perm anyway, so it's like it's as the money comes in, so it doesn't really matter too much. I think one of the biggest eye opener was I've gone from having a simple structure of going to an office 5 days a week and then working from home. I never really liked working from home anyway. When I was at OJ, I always liked being in the office around the people, have that buzz of a sales floor. So yeah, that was probably the hardest thing that I had to transition to, is that working from home element. Now I've got an okay setup. I've got 2 screens. I've got a little room with a sofa in it. I haven't got a window. That's probably the hardest thing, because I'm not in the living room or anything. But yeah, that was probably the hardest thing to get used to.
Have you considered like working in a WeWork or anything like that?
It costs too much, man. I'm cheap. I'm from the Midlands. I'm a cheap person. They quoted me $2,000 for a windowless room. So I was like, what's the point? I might as well stay in my apartment in a windowless room. If I wanted a window, it's an extra $1,500. Apparently, it's like the same price as an apartment, basically, or like a studio. I don't know. It just wasn't worth it. Yeah, you can probably write it off on your taxes, but it's just not worth it. Like, I'd stay at home.
So what's what advice would you give to someone that's considering setting up on their own? Perhaps they're at a Hayes, an OJ, or somewhere similar, and top biller, maybe tied into a healthy contracts book. But they're considering doing it. They're having those chats down the pub. Yeah. What would your advice be?
I mean, there's no better time than the present in doing something, because everyone will have a non-compete, and the non-compete clock doesn't start until you leave, right? That's a given. But then you just got to plan it a little bit more than maybe we did. That's probably why. I mean, I didn't get off the. I didn't get onto billing like straight away. There was a bit of a lag, probably because it's a completely new market. But I just say, plan it out, think about it. If it's the right time, if you think you're set for it, if you think you're financially set for it, yeah, just do it. Why not? You can always go back into working for someone else, because there are, as you know, a lot of rec-to-recs out there who will happily place an experienced recruiter who's got a track record of billing into a company. Yeah, you 5 calls, you probably get 5 interviews set up. Yeah. If they're good.
So get in touch. If that's you, get in touch. So moving on to recruitment's reputation then. So, I think it's fair to say recruitment does have a mixed reputation, especially here in the UK. So in your opinion, why do so many people love to hate recruiters?
I think because they think we're just going out for a fee, right? Maybe, and just don't give a crap about the person on the other end of the phone. That's my opinion. I think UK recruiters get a bit more of a worse rep than probably recruiters out here. Americans are very into like enhancing their careers and getting career advice and more open-minded on those sort of things, versus like UK people are less so interested in taking a recruiter's call. I would say that's just from experience. So I think that's where the bad rep comes from. But then on the other side, even if you're over here and you're just constantly blasting emails or text messages to candidates, and you're doing all these email campaigns, and it's constant reach out, you're kind of going to get a reputation of like a sloppy recruiter. Maybe. I mean, it might work for people, but that's what I think.
So you think it comes from bad service and just laziness and just that mass approach, not really targeted?
Yeah, I think so. I think, not having credible relationships in the industry, that's only ever built over time with people. And if you're doing, sending an e-shot out to 1,000 people a week, is like, are you really going to ring through 1,000 of those e-shots to follow up on the person to say, hey, did you get my email? What do you think to these opportunities? I know you said this time you were looking, et cetera, et cetera. So it's, I think recruitment is a relationship game. And I feel that the way that I got taught how to do it, I wasn't involved in like mass emailing and stuff. So I think that's where the credibility comes into it a lot more.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think like the difference in reputation means for like a British recruiter going over to the US?
The reputation, there's the thought that they should be billing immediately. I'd assume. I think that's what you're asking.
But just, I mean, like the fact that, in the UK, recruiters aren't perceived as well as they perhaps are in the US. Right. Like, what do you think that means then for a UK recruiter starting in the US? Do you think it makes it a little bit easier for them, or?
I think it does, because you can tell them a little bit of a story as well. Americans are very open-minded people. Like I said, that they'll hear and listen and have a chat. Yes, if you're speaking to someone in like the South, like your Texas is, you Georgia, Florida, they do like the accent. People have said it to me on the phone. You have a bit more of an open conversation. Whether they trust you or not, maybe, I don't know, but. I think it's, going over from the UK to the US, you'll have an easier time speaking to people on the phone, and it'll probably be like a 20-30 minute call, versus in the UK, your calls are like 10 minutes max. Candidates, from why maybe I wasn't questioning well enough back then, but
looking back on your career, particularly in the UK, then can you think of any ways in which you've contributed to the industry's bad reputation?
Yeah, there's probably times where candidates have just like not picked up the phone, and I've called them like 5 times in the space of half an hour. I'm definitely guilty of that. Or when an interview's finished, and I know it's finished because I track it on like the Teams, on the chat, and I will ring them like 3 or 4 times to try and get feedback. Yeah, so probably I am guilty to that, but I try not to. Even when an interview's finished, I still have to hold myself back a little bit from ringing the client literally like 2 minutes after the interview's finished. That's probably comes from the impatience side of me, really.
What's the most embarrassing mistake you've made that you can remember?
Oh God, that's a really tough one. There was one in the US where I sent a candidate to the hiring manager that they were currently contracting at.
It's classic, that, isn't it? It's just a classic recruitment mistake that everyone must have made at some point.
Yeah, it was really bad. Client rang me immediately. Said, "Is this?" Because I blinded the resume. Luckily, he said, "Is this person?" And I just went, "No, it's not." But yeah, that was quite embarrassing. Obviously, I lied, but yeah, it's. I haven't done it many times, but that's one that I remember.
If it makes you feel any better, I once spec'd a guy into his current business partner, so he was considering leaving his co-founder to go back into employment, and I spec'd him into his business partner, and then he had about 5 missed calls, and he was saying that he's like, if you were in the office, I was considering coming down to the office. So yeah, my team, that was since being a business owner as well. My team remind me about that regularly. What's the biggest misconception people have about recruitment, in your opinion?
Biggest misconception is that we're out here for a quick buck. I think yes, we all like to make commission, but there is an element of wanting to help people better their careers. I disagree with people when they say, "Oh, I only care about money in recruitment." You do feel good when someone accepts a job and you're getting them a 40, 50K pay rise because they're underpaid. No one in the right frame of mind says they don't feel anything when that happens. So
Yeah,
that's probably the biggest misconception.
yeah, fair. Want to move on to a few contentious topics. So, firstly, what's your take on how LinkedIn is used these days?
Um, I think I'm not huge on LinkedIn, right? I went through a little bit of a phase of trying to post and do stuff, um, to try and get some, inbound business. So I just run out of things to say a little bit. So, but people like to use it as a voice. It's like people on Instagram posting constant stories, right, or and stuff, just trying to, either create conversations or get people to reach out to them. So I see values. I think the way that doing LinkedIn in mails, right, that's a big thing. I try and tailor mine. I don't send a lot out. So because if you don't tailor them, the rate of response is going to be low. That's a given. Yes, you're probably not going to get the right amount out, but you want to get these people on the phone. You want them to reply. So just take an extra 5 minutes to just tailor it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think LinkedIn, yeah, it's great. I use it a lot for more market mapping and stuff rather than I don't use all my email credits. We have like 700 left still, so they're just going to keep going up.
Yeah. Okay. What about KPIs?
Yeah, this I agree with KPIs to a certain degree. What I've always preached is more so tailoring the KPIs and using ratios instead. So, what's your job to deal? What's your CV to deal? What's your interview to deal? You can do loads of different things, spec to meetings, meetings to jobs, all these different things, because each recruiter has their own ratios that depict how, where they can improve or how they run their desk, right? So that's so. I don't agree with set KPIs for a team. It is what I'm getting at. So the whole team has to do 5 CVs out a week, 5 meetings, and 3 jobs. Because one person could have a 1.5 job to deal ratio, right? So in order to get 2 jobs, then you need to do 3 jobs. In order to get 2 deals, then you need 3 jobs a month. It's less than 1 a week, right? But they might have a CV to deal ratio of like 7-1. So yeah, they're pulling 3 jobs, but they're sending 21 resumes, right, to get 2 deals. That's a lot of work. So that's when they need to be coached, right, on their quality, or maybe it's job reg and they don't understand it. So I don't do set KPIs. We won't at Falcon Group at all. Everyone's on ratios based on what they're performing, and you can the first quarter or the first year you might have like skewed numbers because they haven't really got ratios. So you do like a generic, based on what Jake and I are doing, we'll take our averages, our average ratios, and then give them out, and then you can adjust it once you're in year
So am I
two.
right? So am I right in saying you will have KPIs for people who work for you guys, but they'll be based on their ratios, which is obviously based on their
Yes,
performance
correct.
in a period of
Yeah,
time.
but we want to say it's like this is how much you want to earn in the year, right? So let's say 500 grand. Okay. Now, how many deals do you need to get to make 500 grand? Let's say your average deal is 50K, just for argument's sake. So that's 10 deals, less than a deal a month. What are your ratios to get a deal, right? And then you work backwards,
Yeah.
right? So the motivator is them earning 500K because of their vision board. What do they want to buy? Oh, I want to buy a Rolex. I want to buy, a new Patek or whatever it is. Aim high, right? So it's all to do with them. It's not to do with what drives the business, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we want to build it on. So yeah, they are KPIs, they are key performance indicators, but they are not generic. They are tailored to earnings.
What do you say to those businesses who are like, we don't do KPIs, we just look at that billing number?
I disagree. To be honest with you, like if you don't do, it depends what they mean. If they don't mean, we don't do KPIs on, call times and dials, then yeah, fine, whatever.
Don't track anything other than how much they bill every month.
That's still a KPI, isn't it? At the end of the day, is if you're not billing, if you 30 grand, then is that your indicator of what performance is? Because then, how do you, horrible as it is, how do you sack someone for underperformance?
So that is their one KPI, and they don't believe in tracking anything else. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
It's like, how are you going to drive it? How are you going to drive success? How are you going to? I mean, honestly, just crack on, whatever. But I don't believe in no KPIs whatsoever. I don't believe in it. I think KPIs are there for a reason, not as a barrier. They're there to help people improve. So if someone has zero KPIs, and I know there are businesses that have zero KPIs, they just want people to come in and crack on. Yeah, fine. But like, a recruiter will always hit a ceiling. Without those KPIs, how are you going to get them above that ceiling? Because otherwise they're going to be at a 350k biller, which is like mid-tier mediocrity really in the US, and they're just going to be that. So people can just reach. I'll happily poach a 350k biller if they haven't got any KPIs. Yeah, absolutely. You can make them into a 500 because they've got the traits.
Yeah, and you see, it's ultimately like how do you work out how they do that 350 grand?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you know why they're underperforming? How do you know why they're doing well? Like you don't if you don't track things. Yeah. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying. What's your thoughts on like the 360 model versus the 180 model?
I've always been 360, so that's kind of where I stand. My desks have never been volume based, right? They've always been, 6 to 8 jobs a month sort of thing. So that's I could handle that. That's fine. If you're running an IT desk where you've got an MSP pumping out 20 jobs a week, right? Yeah, it's probably a 180 delivery model is highly relevant to that. I think it's different horses for different courses. Effectively, that's what I'm getting to. Because it's not one size fits all. It's very desk dependent, very business dependent, industry dependent, etc.
What's your thoughts on AI? Its impact on the recruitment industry, like how you think it can be utilised for the better. How are you utilising it?
I think the new people coming into recruitment are going to be better with AI than the likes of like myself, because I've never really used it. It's like when iPhones came out and my grandma can't use an iPhone, right, to save her life. She still has a flip phone, right? It's that all over again with technology, and there are going to be some people who adapt to it very well and automate processes and use Claude or ChatGPT very well and stuff. Whereas I try and use it. I do have it open every day. I use it to format resumes, right? Because it's easy. I've got a saved format structure on there. Plug it in, play it, and it pings out a Word doc with my logo on and everything. Yeah, sweet. Saves me time. Don't have to format, right? But yeah, that's the only reason I can think of it right now that I use it for. There's probably so many ways I could use it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
It's here to stay, obviously.
Yeah.
And people will use it, and I think you can integrate it with your CRMs now, and stuff, and automate. You could probably automate a lot of operations stuff with it. So on the back end, but from a front end sales billing perspective, I think just what's your biggest time waste? Probably formatting CVs is a big time waste, especially when you get PDFs with pictures on and like 50 skills in 3 columns. Yeah, it's just get Claude to write you a new one that's tailored to your format.
Yeah, I think the consensus seems to be that it should be used to save time on like mundane, repetitive admin tasks that don't take a lot of skill. Ultimately, it's never going to replace a recruiter and or the ability to build a relationship, which is so crucial.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. It's And do you really want it automating like, e-shots to 1,000 odd people? Yeah, maybe if that's your business, maybe if you're in the healthcare industry, right, and it is that volume stuff, but not for kind of the FS market, like financial services, I don't think.
What's next for Falcon Group then?
Oh, the world is our oyster, sort of thing. We're still just two of us. We're going to grow to one more very soon. We're excited about that, and then hopefully, keep billing and keep growing. We want to position ourselves as a place where big billers want to be, right? That's our aim. Just because Jake and I were, $1 million billers, we want to have that. Obviously, every company wants that, but that's who we want to hire as well when we grow. So we see it as more of a platform for high performance, and not let off for like mediocrity sort of thing. It's like a bit of a different way to sell it, but that's what we're really looking at. So yeah, I'd love to get to 10, 15, 20 people, but it's all baby steps every single time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. In this game, that's what I think anyway.
And what about success for Alex moving forwards? Like, what does that look like, and has that changed over time?
Success for me, I'd love a house with a garden, to be honest with you, or at least
and
a
an
balcony,
office with a window.
An office with a window and a balcony. That's literally my goals. But success for me, I just want to enjoy it, to be honest with you. Everyone gets, recruitment is a horrible industry at the best of times. It can really like draw you in. You can be less present with your family because of recruitment. You're always on your emails, always replying. I just want to enjoy building a business, enjoy billing, enjoy servicing the clients, and enjoy growing it as well with people who want to earn a lot of money, right? I've seen multiple commission structures across the industry. I get joy in seeing people earn and hit those goals and buy their first Rolex, right? Or put a down deposit on a house or upgrade their apartment, right? Things that are very specific to New York. That's what brings me joy. So if I can bring in recruiters and let them have those financial freedom traits, then yeah, that's what success looks like to me as a business founder, really.
Yeah, amazing. Well, look, I think that's a nice place to finish. I think, look, having you kind of downplay the significance of billing $1 million in at OJ, which I think some people can only dream of. So I think the fact that you've moved to a new country, other side of the world, gone on to do that, run a team, set up your own business, I think it's all very inspiring. And I know it's really early on at Falcon Group, but just from listening to your take on all things recruitment, I can tell that you're going to have a lot of success with that. So yeah, just want to say thanks for coming on, mate, and best of luck with it.
Appreciate it. Cheers, Adam.
Thank you for making it to the end of another episode. If you are enjoying the podcast, please drop us a follow on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It genuinely goes a long way in helping us to continue to grow the podcast and make improvements. Thanks again, and hopefully see you all next time.